Your inconsistency isn't a character flaw. It's not laziness, it's not weakness. It's not who you are. It's who your brain has practiced being. Every time you made a plan and quit by Thursday, your brain got a little better at quitting. Every time you felt the pull to act and scrolled instead, your brain got a little more efficient at choosing the scroll. You didn't fail to build discipline. You built something else. You built a neural architecture optimized for stopping. Feel that for a second. That hollow feeling when you think about your track record. Not shame and just recognition. That hollowness is the gap between who you intend to be and what your nervous system has memorized. Most people live their entire lives in that gap and call it personality. It isn't. You don't have a discipline problem. You have an identity problem. And those are not the same fight. Here's the specific thing going wrong. Your brain doesn't experience you as a goal. It experiences you as a pattern. A collection of predictions about what you'll do next, built from thousands of repetitions of what you've done before. Neuroscientists call this your self-concept, and it lives in a network called the default mode network, your brain's autopilot system, running constantly beneath your conscious awareness. Here's the moment that reveals everything. Your default mode network isn't passive. It's predictive. It is constantly scanning your choices and filtering them through one question. Does this match who I know this person to be? When you try to build a new habit, you're not just fighting discomfort. You're fighting your own brain's model of you. That model was built by Hebbian learning, neurons that fire together, wire together. Every time you woke up and didn't do the thing, those neurons fired together. Every time anxiety stopped you at the edge of a decision, those neurons fired together. Do it enough times and the circuit becomes automatic. The behavior stops requiring a decision, it just happens. This is the diagnosis. You're not inconsistent because you lack willpower. You're inconsistent because your brain has built a detailed, well-rehearsed simulation of a person who stops. And every day you live inside that simulation, you reinforce it. There's a specific region behind this I'll name in a moment. But first you need to feel the full weight of this, because the implications run deeper than most people are willing to sit with. You are not choosing to quit. You're executing a program. You've been here before. Call it the Sunday night version of yourself. Sunday night, something clicks. You feel it. The clarity, the vision, the absolute certainty that this week is different. You open the Notes app, you write the plan. Wake up at 6, no snooze, gym, work before email. No spending that isn't budgeted. You go to bed feeling like someone else. Someone sharp, someone in control, someone your present self doesn't quite recognize, but desperately wants to become. Monday happens, maybe even Tuesday. Wednesday, the alarm goes off and the negotiation starts. Just 15 more minutes. The gym can be tomorrow. One latte isn't going to derail anything. The budget was unrealistic anyway. Now let that land. The decision to stop it, you didn't make it at 6 a.m. on Wednesday. You made it at 11 p.m. on Sunday. When you confuse the feeling of planning with the feeling of actually being different, your brain got a hit of dopamine from the vision of the future self, and it spent that hit before a single action was taken. Wait, that's not a motivation problem. That's a neurological bait and switch. The plan gave you the reward before the behavior, so the behavior never had to happen. And then Thursday comes, and you're not just someone who skipped the gym. Your brain logs it as a data point. It updates its model of you. The autopilot gets a little more certain. The self-concept tightens. Yes, I am still this person. I still stop here, I still quit on Thursday. By the third or fourth cycle of this, something worse happens. You stop expecting Wednesday to be different. The unconscious brain, faster and more honest than your Sunday night self, already knows how this ends. So it doesn't let you commit fully. It holds back. The plan gets written, but something in you knows it's provisional. Inconsistency becomes identity, and identity runs deeper than motivation. That's why motivation never fixed it. You can't motivate your way out of a self-concept. Now layer in the neuroscience. Your amygdala in the brain's threat detection system has been trained by your pattern of stopping. Not just trained, recruited. When you approach the edge of a hard decision, the amygdala fires a signal that reads as danger. The unfamiliar, even when it's good for you, registers as threat. The new behavior, the uncomfortable choice, the moment before action, your amygdala labels all of it as risk. This is loss aversion in the body. Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky demonstrated that the psychological pain of losing something is roughly twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining the equivalent thing. Your brain doesn't just prefer comfort, it treats the absence of comfort as loss. So when you try to act in opposition to your established pattern, you're not just choosing effort over ease. You're asking your nervous system to absorb what feels like a genuine threat. Let that sink in. The obstacle isn't laziness. The obstacle is a safety system, doing exactly what it was designed to do. Protect a self it recognizes. Here's where it gets worse. Neuroplasticity, the brain's capacity to physically rewire itself, based on repeated experience, works in both directions. Every time you override the amygdala's alarm and act anyway, those circuits get reinforced. But every time you comply with the alarm and stop, those circuits get reinforced instead. You are always building something. The question is which architecture you're reinforcing today. Carol Dweck's research on identity and self-concept shows that the brain is not just reward-seeking, it's consistency-seeking. It wants its predictions about you to be correct. This means your own brain will subtly filter evidence. That contradicts its model of you. It discounts the days you showed up. It amplifies the days you didn't. You are not your worst moments, but your brain is keeping score differently than you think. This is where it changes. Not because you get harder, not because you become a different species of person who doesn't feel the pull to stop. You will always feel the pull. The rewiring isn't about not feeling it. It's about building a nervous system that doesn't negotiate with it. Here's the protocol. 3 components. Start today. The identity anchor. Before any target behavior. Before the alarm goes off. Before the gym. Before the budget review. Before any moment where your pattern of stopping usually wins, you say one sentence. Out loud or in writing. Not a goal, not a mantra, an identity statement. I am the kind of person who does this. Not I'm trying to be, not I want to be. Present tense, declarative. This isn't affirmation theater. This is you using language to prime the default mode network. Before it primes you, you're updating the self-concept before the moment of decision. So the decision is made with a slightly different model running underneath it. Do this every single time. Consistency is the point. Neurons that fire together wire together. And you're building the version now. The 3-second execution rule. When the moment of action arrives, you have a window. Research on behavioral automaticity shows that deliberation is the enemy of initiation. The longer you stay in the space between intention and action, the more time your amygdala has to generate threat signals. The more time your DMN has to serve up the old pattern. The rule is simple. When the moment arrives, you move within 3 seconds. Not because 3 seconds is magic, because it's shorter than the negotiation. You interrupt the circuit before it can complete. 1, 2, 3, move. You don't think about how you feel. Feelings are data from the past. They're your amygdala reading your track record and predicting the future based on yesterday. You're not making a decision based on yesterday. You're making a decision about who you're training yourself to be. The evidence ledger. Every day, not weekly, daily. You write down one thing you did that contradicted your old pattern. One moment where the old circuit fired and you didn't follow it. It doesn't have to be large, it has to be true. This matters because of what Dweck's research makes clear. Your brain is filtering evidence against its self-concept. You need a manual override? You need a record your DMN can't quietly dismiss. Over time, not weeks, months, the ledger rewrites the model. The default mode network updates its predictions. The self-concept shifts. Not because you decided to be different, because you gave your brain enough data to recognize that you already are. Here's the before. You know the before. The Sunday night plan, the Wednesday collapse, the Friday shame, the reset. An endless loop where the desire for change is real, but the identity underneath it keeps pulling you back to the same coordinates. Here's the after. Same apartment, same constraints, same brain, but running different software. You wake up and the negotiation is quieter. Not gone, but quieter. Because your nervous system has enough evidence now that this is what you do. The 3-second rule isn't a trick anymore. It's just how you move. The amygdala still fires, but the pattern underneath it is different. The prediction is different. You stop being someone trying to build consistency. You become someone who is consistent. That's not a feeling. That's a neurological fact about who you've become. Most people who watch this will nod. They'll feel the recognition. The diagnosis, the Wednesday collapse, they'll see themselves in it. And then the video will end, and the default mode network will do what it always does. It will return them to the pattern. You have 3 seconds. Subscribing to this channel is not a passive act. It's a data point for your own evidence ledger. It's you telling your default mode network, I am the kind of person who studies how my own mind works. I am the kind of person who takes the diagnosis seriously enough to keep going. I am not someone who consumes insight and returns unchanged. That is not a small thing. That is your nervous system logging a moment of self-directed attention in a world specifically engineered to make that impossible. Your old pattern is not your identity. It's your training history, and training histories change. The work starts now.